Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're doing something a little different as we're going over the Rig 800 Pro review. This is a headset that has been out for a while. There are some different iterations, but I want to cover this because headsets are a part of our lives now pretty much, and it's kind of could become a standard with gaming for a bunch of us. And there are some pretty expensive, fancy options out there. There's some good quality headsets, and there's also some really horrible, cheap, crappy, almost kind of scammy headsets too. And so I wanted to do a review with roughly 20 years of experience of going over different headsets and different brands, and even thinking about how they've changed over the years. I wanted to present you with something that maybe you can actually enjoy if you're in the market for one. Now, everyone has their own opinions and biases, of course, but I'm trying to be as just factual as possible. And yeah, this is going to be focusing on the Rig 800. If you kind of like this idea for the channel, whether it be like controllers or even reviewing kind of like the newer game consoles that are out there, or even other headsets, these do cost money, of course, to grab. And I don't want any kind of promotion either, because then I'm just, I'm entitled to say great things about it and hope you buy it, which is dumb. That's not what I want. But if I ever have the ability to review accessories for gaming or even for streaming, maybe in the future for streaming, then I would be able to like to do that. So let's go ahead and get into this. We'll start off right away with the MSRP is $150 for a brand new one. And there are refurbished models out there. They're actually quite easy to find on Amazon. There's even a few that pop up every once in a while at GameStop and a few other retailers. And another place to look would be eBay. But yeah, refurbished is somewhere between 100 and 110. I've maybe seen 113, but over 110 is pretty rare. Mine personally that I'm using right now is refurbished for 104. And I gotta say, the packaging was really nice. It was really well put together. Everything was covered. Everything was labeled. The instructions were easy to read. And I was excited. And I even had a certified sticker from Rig themselves on the box, showing that all of the parts inside are certified through them. And so they make sure that you're actually getting something from them and not a fake or a scam or whatever. And there's kind of that issue out there too with just about everything. But after about a month, I gotta say I really enjoy this headset. There are some stuff that I don't like, which I'll go over, and things that I do too, and ultimately it's up to you on what you want to do. But yeah, the price point is pretty hefty. There is a cheaper price point of a Rig 500 Pro. This is a Rig 800 Pro. There are some other versions too. Okay, there's a 300, a 400, a 500, a 6, a 7, 8, and a 9. But I really think the best bangs for your buck are the 500 Pro and the 800 Pro. So I'm only going to talk about those. This 800 Pro is actually very comfortable. And so far, all of the Rig headsets that I've tried, except for the 400, have been pretty nice. I've tried the 400, the 500, a 6, a 7, and an 8. And I gotta say, they all actually feel pretty comfortable. These rigs are actually pretty hard to find now in stores. Usually you see Bose, usually you see official stuff for Sony or for Xbox. Or you see Razors or Turtle Beaches. You usually see those now, but rigs are actually kind of hard to find. They do also have rigs, I guess, over at Walmart. You can always check there, but they only have limited versions. But yeah, they're very comfortable to wear. Okay, they don't weigh very much. They're one of the lightest in the industry, and they're good for glasses. The cups, the ear cuffs are ear cups actually encase your ears for a full kind of a passive noise dampening. Okay, it's not like noise canceling. I just call it noise dampening, and they actually do a fairly good job. But they're maybe only gonna, block out a whisper, okay, which is maybe around 20 decibels. Or 15-ish, somewhere in there. Anything above that, you're still going to be hear it. So, but it is nice. It does actually dampen stuff for you. The And the cups don't just rest on your ears, they actually encase the entire ear, which is really nice. The headband is always adjustable to the size of your head, or if you're wearing a hat or whatever. And it automatically adjusts while you're putting it on, so you never really have to readjust it for yourself. Maybe a little bit, if you got hair or something like that, or you have, maybe like earrings or something. But generally speaking, it adjusts while you're putting the headset on, so you get a nice fit every single time. The mic, too, is pretty easy to adjust, just like most of the headsets out there now. You can pretty much adjust it wherever you need it. The mic does need to be pretty close to your mouth and to your lips in order for your audience to hear you, or those in your party, because Lion 2 also has a Rig 800, and I've even noticed this in some of my videos since testing this month, is that if the microphone is not close enough, it doesn't really seem to want to pick you up very well. But you are able to hear some ambience around you sometimes. Now, Xbox and PlayStation both, and also some software with PC, they have like noise suppressing features. So if you're in a quiet room, probably go ahead and have that off, so that the microphone can actually have an easier time picking up your voice. But just be mindful, if you are going to have any type of noise suppressing on, you want to make sure that your microphone is basically kissing your lips. Like to the point even where your like goatee or mustache is going to be touching the microphone. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be really close to your mouth in order for it to come through clearly. If you're able to control the mic volume, or like how loud the microphone is, turn it up. For Helldivers 2 on PC, I'm turning this thing up to basically 80% out of 100, so that my voice can match roughly with where the audio is in the game. But yeah, it's got to be turned up quite a bit. The microphone is clear, yet it also sounds like you're kind of talking into a cup just slightly. The sound doesn't quite come off as full for the voice. So I don't know if it's something with the microphone. I don't believe it's with any settings that I could tell. But I do think it's just with the microphone. Now with my Rig 500, my voice sounds more full on my 500. And if you look back in some of my earlier videos, like in just like January, February of this year, you'll be able to hear that my voice sounds different compared to how it's sounding now through the 800. So, but the 500 also is not quite as clear as the 800 is. The 800 I feel is a little bit more clear, but I feel like the equalizer for the types of frequencies that my voice has in picking up in the microphone, it's just slightly off. It's picking up kind of like the mid-range and the high range of frequencies of my voice, but not necessarily the bass. You can still hear the bass coming through, but it doesn't seem that it's as much. So with the 500 microphone, that comes through pretty much perfectly. It sounds really good. There's a flip-up mute feature, like with most of the 500 and above. You just flip up the mic and it automatically mutes for you, which is nice. And this is useful to just talk to somebody off in the distance or whatever. You don't have to try to cover it up, or you don't have to try to, kind of like lean away from your ear while you're holding it out from your head. Nothing like that. Just flip it up and you're muted. And that's a really nice feature that the Rig has. I think others also have that too, like Turtle Beaches and some of the higher end razors and stuff. But with the Rig 500, I mean, you're looking at a price point of like $40, and that's a pretty nice feature to have for $40 if you need a budget headset. The sound that you hear everything through is through 40mm drivers. The 500 has 50mm, so they're slightly bigger, but I can't really tell a difference. Between the 40 and the 50, they basically sound the same. I don't notice any real changes. It might be slightly deeper with the 50s, but I would say that the 40s are more clear and crisp when there's a whole lot of chaos going on in the screen, and I'm able to hear everything really clearly. And I can easily tell where generally people are, like when I'm playing Warzone or when I'm playing like World of Tanks or something like that. I can easily tell kind of where like shots came from or where footsteps are or whatever. And for a refurbished $100 headset, it's really nice. It actually comes through really great. Let's see. And yeah, same with the 500 Pro, but I would say the 800 Pro comes through just a tad better. With the 800, you get Dolby Atmos for 1 year. And you have to like activate that or whatever. But there's also mic monitoring as well that you have on the headset for the 800. And it's easy controls. It's just a simple button. You just click it once, and then it'll beep at you to let you know what setting you're on for mic monitoring. Personally, I like to have it off because I feel like it's a little distracting for me. But hey, some people like to have it on. But you have a high setting that's fairly loud, and you have a low setting, and then you have an off setting. And it's just a click of a button, which is really nice. And the button, too, doesn't necessarily feel cheesy. Like, even the button to turn it on and to turn it off, there's definitely a button there. Now, with definitely some use, the buttons are going to get a little more mushy, but I don't feel like they're going to break on me, right? They still feel pretty solid. You also get a charging base with your 800, and let me tell you, you know when it's actually seated properly, and it clicks in really nice. You get a micro USB that you can plug in. Very easy to get the cord anywhere. The cord's cheap. You can get the cord as long as you want. And honestly, with a USB-A, you can just plug it right into just a regular charging block and call it a day, which is great. So it makes it pretty accessible to put your charging dock wherever you'd like, and within reach of whatever's around you, what type of living situation you have. It's just, and the dock isn't overly big. I mean, the dock is roughly probably 6 by 4 inches. Again, it's not overly big. It's pretty manageable. It's smaller than an Xbox case, or maybe, yeah, it's a little smaller than an Xbox case, I'd say, or a PlayStation case for a video game. And yeah, it just clicks in really nice. Yeah, again, I've never had one of these, so that's a little biased. I don't have a lot of information on that. But yeah, it is really nice. It's solid. The connections, too, the way it's set up, it's on one particular side of the headset. And so you can never put it in the wrong way. The molding won't let you. And so, yeah, it's really handy. And it just sits there. And there's different colors and different flashes, too, to indicate on if it's charging or if it's done charging or whatever. Like, you can tell all of that stuff. And then, too, when you turn the headset on, it'll tell you where the battery's at, which is nice. For the battery, we're looking at roughly 20 hours of gaming, 24 hours, somewhere in there. And it does actually last for quite a long time. I can have multiple days without ever charging it, and I still have not hit battery low yet. So I'm pretty stoked about that. It's a pretty good battery. There's also a dongle that you have, so it's all wireless and everything, which is great, but the dongle is actually really small. And the dongle is just, think of it as like a thumb drive that you just plug into your USB-A port on your console or PC. And it's very easy to use and set up. You do have a switch that allows you to switch between console and PC. So every version of the Rig 800 Pro allows you to do this, to use it on PC and to use it on console. All you got to do is just switch it. There is also a linking button to tap if you need to do that, just in case. Something else that's nice is that there's replaceable parts. This is actually probably the biggest selling point for me, because life has always kind of been expensive, and it definitely hasn't been getting any better the last few years, as I'm sure some of you can relate. And so being able to just, buy a refurbished model and replace the parts that you need when you need to from the Rig 500 and up is actually really, really nice. Now the Rig 900, that is pretty recent, just came out for $250. You can only currently buy them at Best Buy, and I believe directly off of their website, but at riggaming.com. But unfortunately, there's not a ton of other parts out there for like the 600s or the 800s or even lower than the 5. I don't think there's any parts actually available for the 3 or 400s. But the 500s are pretty accessible. There's probably the most parts for that, so you can replace the cord, the microphone, the frame, the head strap, and the ear cushions on the side. You can pretty much replace everything. With the Rig 800, I have to emphasize this. So the Rig 800 Pro, you are unable to replace the microphone. It does not come out of its socket, and therefore you can't replace it. So please be careful with the microphone. With the non-Pro version, you can actually buy a replacement microphone. Everything else is still able to be replaced. You can still, well, let's see. You may not be able to buy another docking station, but I'm sure you could find one on eBay along with a dongle. So not all of the parts are available, but most of these parts are available on Amazon. And then if you can't find it on Amazon, take a look at eBay. You can pretty much find anything on there. But so far, those are the two places I've been able to find. I did go to riggaming.com, and they don't have a section for replacement parts, which kind of seems dumb, because they do mention it in some of their advertising and showing off some of their stuff, but they don't actually have a place or like part of the shop that allows you to purchase parts, which is frustrating, because they are out there, but just make sure you're buying the correct parts for the correct model that you have. One thing that is incredibly frustrating is there are so many versions out there for the headset. So you have the number designation, the model number, the 300, 400, 500, etc. You also have the Pro versions, which are different. And then you also have the PlayStation versus Xbox versions. And there's even PC versions out there too. And they designate that by like an HS or an HX or an HD. So it's very easy to mix up what model you have and what parts you need and etc. So just be very clear what you're buying. Just double check that, and just make sure everything matches up with the console you have, with the parts you need for the model you have, etc. So don't mix any of that up. The thing that is nice is even though there's actually not any model numbers or any, replacement parts for the 800, the frame, the band, the headband, and the ear cuffs or the ear cushions, they're all able to be replaced with 500 parts, which is really nice. So some of those are interchangeable, which is handy. I gotta say too, it's also really nice. One of the other adjustments that the Rig has is that on the side, the earpieces themselves can actually detach, so that if you drop these things, the parts are kind of made to come off, and you're not going to like as likely snap it or break it or whatever. And even once you start getting up into the 800s, these headsets, the frames are basically indestructible. I've seen some pretty crazy contortions with these that would snap just about all other headsets. And some of the frames for the 800s, for the 800s and up, are just really, really nice. You're buying some quality, you're buying some pretty heavy durability, and even though these things are light, they don't feel tinny. Okay, there's some pretty hefty plastic, it just feels and enjoys being built well. I will have links below for everything, so you can check it out yourself. I will have the Rig website. I'll also have the areas for the headsets, like on Amazon or Best Buy, and then I'll also have links to the parts as well, so that you can look at stuff. And ultimately, it's up to you guys. I mean, if you're looking for a low budget, I think the refurbished models are great. Refurbished is always kind of iffy, but not for a Rig. My wife and I, we've bought 3 refurbished Rigs, and they're great. My first 500 Pro that I bought was refurbished for like $35, and I just had to replace the cord. Woohoo! That was great. And I've used that now for, I don't know, 3 years now. I've used it for quite a while. Works great. And my wife's rig, she just needed a replaced microphone, so again, that was another $10. So yeah, still got it cheaper. My Rig 800, there are still replacement parts for that, but the refurbished model was perfect that I got. It was wonderful. I will say one thing too, there is a glitch with the dongle. There are some also connection issues. I don't know if this is specifically an issue with Microsoft or interfacing with Microsoft or whatever, but sometimes your headset is connected, but it's not registering your voice and stuff like that. And so just unplug the dongle, plug it back in. That's it. That's the only issue that I've experienced so far. Everything else has worked flawless. And I love it. I really do. It's very easy for volume control. It's also, instead of screwing around with different stuff through the Xbox menu for audio settings for streaming, it's all done with one dial right on my headset. I'm not even kidding. It's pretty nice. It was a little different to get used to, and at first I didn't like it, but with just the ease and learning about where kind of the different points are, it was very, very nice. Now, for setting up, like being in party chat right now, like we have to as streamers on Xbox, we have to be in a party so that we don't get, the glitch with Twitch if you're using Twitch, which probably most of us are on Xbox. You do have to have, well, let's see, I do have the mic monitoring off. I think that helps. And then adjusting party audio versus game audio. I have a lot of the dial set to more party audio than gaming. Probably a 90-10 or like 85-15 split, where most of the focus is again on the audio of my voice and coupled with the gaming. And that split equals pretty well to have all audio pretty equal while I'm streaming. And again, you can see that through basically the entire month of April. You can click through some of those videos, listen to how some of it sounds. You can tell in the beginning of April I was kind of struggling with this and figuring out where these kind of spots were. But, as I worked through my first week, I basically had it figured out. And I honestly love the headset. I mean, this is the best one I've ever had. I've had friends that have focused on Sony's official headsets that have switched that love Rig better. I've had friends too that have had SteelSeries and love Rig better. I used to be Turtle Beach until my Turtle Beaches kept breaking all the time, and I honestly like Rig. And there's some bigger brands out there, but really I don't think you're gonna find better brands at the price point that you get. So again, I think this is still the best bang for your buck, whether it's the Rig 500 Pro or the Rig 800 or 800 Pro. I think those are the best bangs for your buck. And what's really nice is you can just buy the refurbished and then just get the parts you need. That's it. Or just have some spare parts in your drawer. That's wonderful. I just reiterated to a gaming shop last week, just said, hey, you don't have a lot of headsets? He's like, yeah, we want to get some in. And I was like, well, you can look into rigs, 500s and 800s, and then also have the parts in your shop. You could literally have a one-stop shop for everything in the gaming space for modern day gaming. And that could be a better selling point, because he said he has a lot of people asking about headsets, but he just doesn't really have a very wide value or very wide selection right now. But they're wanting to change that, so we'll see if he actually gets some rigs in the store. I think that would be great. Again, GameStop has some used rigs every so often. Again, you can make sure it's a 500 or an 800 so you can get replacement parts for it. But yeah, let me know what you think. I mean, what's the gaming headsets you use? Have you ever used a rig? And again, if you're curious, you can always go to Walmart, and they have some ones to test out there for the rigs, at least for some of them. Yeah, let me know what you think. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Don't forget all the links are in the description. Also, you can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 at YouTube, and also at Don't Turn on on Twitch. And then don't forget, we also have a Discord server where you can mingle with other folks with the channel, and more importantly, just find other folks to play with. I really want to be able to bring that back into the gaming space, because let me tell you, the 2000s was awesome. Awesome. So anyway, hopefully you guys are doing well. I'll see you on the next one.